It's Thursday, December 26, 2013. I'm Jimmy Principe.
And I'm Trey Comstock. Put in your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 56. Your last call for Tech News of the Week. Tonight, Jimmy ties for first with Sydney. Sydney was vague enough to get away with anything, and I lost big. So it is the day after Christmas here in the United States. It is December 26th. And so instead of bringing you a regularly scheduled tech news
hope
episode,
you all got what you wanted.
Hope you all got what you wanted because the tech industry is on vacation, basically until CES. So this week we bring you our prediction show in two phases. We will first review our predictions from last year, and then one person at a time. And then we will issue new prognostications to be correct or not. And then next week you will have our kind of what we call our best of show, which is where we award like device of the year and game of the year and most disappointing game of the year and worst device of the year. And
and last year we had a random category, the best cars over $300,000. If you want a different random category or, some specific one close to your heart, please send it to us. We'll consider it.
Because we're actually going to record that one that week. So you have plenty of time to send in things you'd like to see us predict or things you'd like to see us give awards for. Because, we'll award anything, including worst device of the year, which I already predict to be the Microsoft Kin.
It's always the worst.
Because it's always the worst device. Okay, so let's go. Let's run down our...
So Trey, how'd you do?
Okay, so it didn't go so well for me. I got 1 out of 5. I was in last by a lot, which is really disappointing. So my first prediction was the Xbox 720, or whatever it will be called, which we found out later, the Xbone, the Xbox One, will come out this year. That was true, but I also said that the PS4 would not. That was false. In fact, the PS4 got announced before the Xbone and released a week before it. So I lost that one. Number 2. Apple releases the heavily rumored iTV. As I kept saying, the winter is coming. Nope. Still none, and it sounds like it has been completely shelved and in favor of wearable tech. So, not that. Number 3. A major U.S. network will record and broadcast a show in 4K. We know there are shows being recorded in 4K. We don't think, as far as we could tell, there are none from like a major network, which is what I meant, that are being broadcast currently in 4K. So I lose that one. 2, Pinterest gets acquired by someone other than Facebook. Well, it didn't get acquired by Facebook. It didn't get acquired at all. Which is very disappointing to me. Also disappointing is
Pinterest, probably.
Right, Pinterest. Well, I predicted that the Great Firewall of China gets brought down by Anonymous. As far as we know, that didn't happen. In fact, the U.S. was more worried of the hackers than anybody else.
So
and then
Anonymous was really not a story, interestingly enough.
No, not this year. It was much more Snowden, much less Anonymo. And then the one I did get right was that hydrogen cars will disappear as a news story, which they have completely. They were kind of on the way, and this wasn't a hugely risky prediction. They were already kind of on the way out last year, but I follow cars reasonably closely, and I haven't heard hide nor hair of a hydrogen at all. It is all about electrified and then electrified and gas, like the Volt. So those are mine. So Jimmy, how'd you do?
Much better than you.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I got 3 out of 5. My first one, there will be a 7-inch Surface tablet announced by the end of October. Yeah, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. However, that is heavily rumored, and it is surprising that it hasn't come out. Because we've been hearing about all year We didn't know that was coming when you made this prediction, but we think there will be a Surface Mini within the next few months. It's just
Yeah,
remarkable.
it'll
they
probably
haven't-
be first or second quarter.
Yeah, it's remarkable actually that it hasn't come out, and it's almost news that we haven't seen it yet.
My second one was Steam will show off the Steam Box at E3, and it will be available by the end of the year.
So I
Which
gave this
kind of.
I gave this one to you because technically both of those things are true. So it was shown behind closed doors at both CES and E3. So it was shown there. It was not announced there publicly. It was announced in the fall publicly. And it is not readily available at retail, but SteamOS is available as a beta for download, and Steam boxes have shipped to 300 beta testers.
There are 300 Steam boxes that have been shipped.
So I gave that one to you.
And it even has an iFixit score, so it's got to be legit.
Yeah, no, 100% on iFixit, I believe.
9 out of 10, I think. There was one thing that they had a gripe about it for.
I think the processor's soldered in. I think that's
Yeah.
what it was.
So my third one was Apple will not release a web-connected TV in 2013.
Which was correct.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, it's likely when it's a binary, yes, this, not that.
My fourth one was nowhere close. Barnes & Noble will offer a subscription program offering all-you-can-eat or all-you-can-read access to ebooks for an annual fee.
I think they should have. I think
Should have.
you hit
that
on
would have been
something
awesome.
that they should have done. They didn't.
I think what
do
I
it.
said was that I wanted them to do it. I didn't think they would, but I wanted them to do that.
So no on that one.
And my last one was Google Fiber will be offered in additional markets outside of Kansas City.
Indeed, it is. Provo, Utah, and Austin, Texas.
So
So
there we go.
there you go. Very congratulations.
Yay!
So in a tie for first with Jimmy is Sydney.
I also got 3 out of 5.
So
Yay, me. Trey seems to be implying that I cheated somehow in my predictions. But
I say that only one of the ones that you got right are phrased in a specific enough a way to not have been just kind of easily winnable.
Sore loser. So my first one was about Square, that we would have more Square in more places. And that's definitely something that at least I have seen. I don't know.
I haven't.
Particularly interestingly for me, not in retail spaces as much as with like really, really small independent situations like craft fairs and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
which
it's almost ubiquitous there. Or like the farmer's market I go to every Tuesday. Almost everyone there accepts Square. By the way, no one in Atlanta knows how to use the Square app, pay with the app thing.
No,
Oh,
it's
man,
all.
I want that to work.
It does work. They
No,
just
but by
don't know
that
how
I
to
mean-
use it.
Like I want people to use it.
Right, because I pay with the app, and they go, "What's that?" Like, that's actually the benefit of Square. It's not actually just a card reader. You idiot!
You should start a Square evangelism campaign.
Yeah, they don't know how to use it because I don't
you-
want to. I don't want to take out my phone. A picture of me in a hat shows up. You so that looks like you, sir, and then I have paid. That's much easier.
Yes.
Anyways, your next prediction.
My next prediction was that the Wii U was going to tank, and I said that I believe Trey pushed me to say before or after the other next gen consoles showed up, and I said before, and
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it was tanking way before.
Part of
Needed no help.
But part of the problem is it didn't have the games worth playing until after the new consoles were announced, right? So after the new consoles announced, you got the Wonderful 101, you got Zelda Wind Waker HD, you got Mario 3D World, which, by the way, could be one of our games of the year. So watch the stream for that to find out. But that's certainly in contention. So you have these great games coming out after we know the big boys are coming into play. And so they missed their opportunity to build a user base at all. And so now you have this thing where, like, there's a lot of games worth playing on the Wii U. There's at least 4 or 5 of them that I can think of off the top of my head. But they missed their opportunity. They've got next year. 2014 could be another great year for the Wii U. They've got a Donkey Kong games that should be great. They've got new Mario Kart and new Smash Brothers. That'd be huge. But who cares? It's just
Exactly.
not selling.
It's too late, baby. No, it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I think you're absolutely right.
You really did.
So
try
next
to-
up, what was your next prediction?
This was one of those kind of crazy ones. We had been talking a lot about the Amazon smartphone, and I predicted that that was actually going to happen, and it didn't. Sad face. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we've heard more rumors that they're working on it, that there's prototypes in the mix, but
Vaporware.
it's total. I mean, not even vaporware. You know,
Those
prob.
people don't even remember that that was a thing.
I don't know. There's been a story in the past month or so about.
Yeah, no, there was one recently about Amazon developing a smartphone.
Yeah, so, hey, look, it's still something that's being considered, probably. I think what Amazon's trying to work out is a special deal with carriers.
Yeah.
Just like I think one of the reasons that we don't see an ITV has nothing to do with hardware and has everything to do with content partnerships.
We got a Facebook phone instead.
Yeah, but even then, but only sort of. I mean, we got a Facebook phone and a Facebook OS.
Kind of.
Kind of.
That's weird.
Chatheads is kind of cool. I like Chatheads.
Kind
Yeah.
of like heads.
So your next one, Sydney.
The next one is probably one of the ones that Trey calls way too vague.
Yeah, like
Um,
Square and more space.
But the rise of web-connected home appliances, the web-connected home, the
Internet of Things. There you go.
so
So,
come up with that phrase
So-
last November.
so that has definitely happened more to an extent than it happened last year. So you have an internet connected thermostat. You have an internet connected.
Well, the thermostat had already come out
Right,
last
but
year.
I mean the thermostat,
You have the smoke detector.
smoke
you have
detector.
The Philips Hue light bulbs.
Yeah, you
that
have all
the-
those things out of GE that look kind of cool. Their quirky system. So
Actually,
there's
what it's called. It's not just quirky.
yeah. They have a whole bunch. You know, whole bunch
The
of stuff.
Bluetooth locks.
Bluetooth locks. And CNET.com now has a whole appliances section to their website with their own test lab and crazy stuff. So yeah, I mean, internet and this whole idea of connected appliances has definitely moved into more of being a thing. I mean, you could even look at the Xbox One to a certain extent as being this internet connected home appliance. So that
Certainly
definitely
would like to
happened.
think
I think I need to make you be more specific this year.
Trey, you're just a
Hey, you're right. You're right. I was predicting trends.
Yeah, I was
I
predicting.
had to predict specific events. I was predicting trends.
Yeah. So what's your last prediction?
Oh, it didn't happen. Self-driving cabs. Alas.
Yeah, Vegas would have been a perfect opportunity for that.
I'm telling you, when it happens, it will happen in Vegas first.
So, our overall score as a staff was 7 out of 15, or 46.66%.
You did pretty well.
So close to half, not bad. So now it starts. Now we start it for real. Our tech predictions for 2014. So I'll start off. I say that I predict that Steam boxes won't matter.
Oh,
That
that's
they
an easy one.
that they just won't matter. That they'll come out, possibly they'll be too expensive, possibly they won't have game support, whatever. That they're a story now, but like, Android gaming was at the start of last year, it's just going to be a non-story. Who's really talking about the Ouya or the Shield or any of those things now? And that was huge this time last year in terms of at CES too. And they came out and no one cared. The gaming press went, these things are crap, and no one cared. And I think for me, my real guess is it's going to be price. They're just going to be too expensive. Like what's the benefit for these things? Just get a PC and an actual PC that you can put Windows 7 on and sideload SteamOS or whatever. So that's my first prediction is Steam boxes won't matter.
Yeah,
Okay.
I completely agree with that.
It's
I
a
think
little
It's the issue with it is that it's a niche product.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be expensive, then it's definitely not going to thrive as being both expensive and a niche product. It's just not going to happen.
Let's be clear.
Pick
This is
one.
I'm talking about the hardware, not the operating system. I think
Not
SteamOS,
SteamOS will exist.
and it may even matter because it may actually,
Well, the controller might matter too.
Sure. But what I'm talking about is specifically the Steam boxes, the hardware that they're going to be offering. I don't think they're going to matter at all. I think, they're going to be less important than, Alienware or Falcon Northwest. There's just going to be these little niche things with a little bit of marketing behind them. So, Jimmy, what's your first prediction?
My first prediction is the success of the Adobe. Oh, what's it called?
This gives me a lot of faith in your prediction. The Mighty Pen?
The Mighty Pen and the Napoleon ruler.
Okay. How do you define success?
Um,
He's getting strict this year.
yeah. I thought. I mean, how do you think I should define success?
Well, I mean, is it going to be one of those things that has a lot of mind share? Is it going to sell really well? Is it going to become a consumer product? Is it going to push iPad adoption into new industries?
I think that it'll push more iPad adoption into industries where it wasn't before. But I don't think it'll be a huge financial success. But I think it won't be a flop, and I think that they will bring a new idea to that space.
Sure. Okay. That's enough. Sure. I can go with that. I hope you're right. That's one of the reasons.
I want it to be awesome.
That's
this
one of the
kind
reasons.
of like my Barnes and Noble story last year.
Well, I mean, I'm holding off buying any form of Bluetooth-enabled stylus for my iPad simply because I want to see. For me, the big question is how much is that thing going to cost versus
Right.
how awesome is it actually going to be.
Right.
Because I think the combination of those two things could actually be what I'm looking for in something to draw on my iPad with. But I need to see these things in action hands-on to see what the lag is specifically. And then if the price versus lack of lag is at all reasonable, which
Yeah.
I have a suspicion it won't be. But I hope I'm wrong. So, Sydney, what's your first prediction?
All right, this one may be somewhat of a gimme, but I believe I'm going to go ahead and predict that we will be getting a smartwatch from Apple.
Okay, no, that's fair. Let's see. I have
iWatch is coming.
sure. Okay, and I'll piggyback on that one because I have ones. I have one prediction that's an Apple-related trifecta. Okay, I predict that Apple will release a smartwatch, will release a 5-inch-ish iPhone, a little over or a little under, but somewhere around a 5-inch screen of an iPhone, but they will not release touchscreen laptops.
Okay.
So 2 yeses and a no. But no, I think that we're getting enough rumors out of supply chain and that yeah, I think you're right. I think the smartwatch is coming. I think they have to upgrade screen size, so I might as well predict something that I think has to happen. But I think they're having too much success with the MacBooks as they are to even bother with a touchscreen, because that is kind of a gimmick, unless it's also with a detachable keyboard, which I don't think they're going to do because that will eat their iPad sales in ways they don't want to do. So, Jimmy, it's back around to you.
Well, what I was going to predict is that Apple. I'll piggyback on the Apple then. Apple will release an iWatch, but it will not be the one watch to rule them all. Like,
Okay.
how we keep talking about the Galaxy Gear. Oh, but wait till Apple comes out with something.
Galaxy
like,
Gear also now has a really new creepy ad that is awful.
So bad.
Oh God.
It's like how to be a stalker using your smartwatch thing. Ooh. Anyways, keep going.
No, yeah, but basically that the iWatch is not going to. It'll either be too expensive or the battery life won't be there. It will not be the perfect integrated device that everyone is hoping for from Apple.
Sure. Okay. I think that is entirely possible. That it'll come out and we will finally just realize that this smartwatch thing is kind of dumb.
Well, that what we really want is a Pebble.
What we really want is a Pebble, because the Pebble, anything with an LCD screen is not going to have the battery life of the Pebble. and if the Pebble can just tweak their battery life up a little bit, we want this thing to be super minimal. And the foul of the Galaxy Gear is that it's in no way minimal. It is maximal. It has a camera and a screen. It makes coffee and lifts weights. It makes you be even more of a douchebag than you were before.
Man's watch.
So, yeah, I think that's a good point. So, Sydney, it's back to you.
Okay, so my second one is also smartwatch related, and based on Jimmy's, I may edit it a little bit. So my second prediction is if Apple does not make a smartwatch, or perhaps I should also add, if Apple's smartwatch is not what people expect it to be, then smartwatches will not make it. I think in order for smartwatches to make it as a mainstream product, Apple has to have a good one, because I don't think, otherwise I really don't think consumers are going to get on board.
Except for e-readers, it's hard to think of kind of a modern, e-readers and game systems are the only two things where Apple doesn't have a toe in the water in terms of major consumer electronic thrusts, right? Smartphones, tablets, MP3 players, laptops, desktops. I mean, they've kind of revolutionized several of those markets. Specifically desktops, tablets, smartphones, and MP3 players.
So
I think that in a lot of ways...
shot myself in the foot for next year because one of my predictions depends on the other one not coming true, but oh well.
Well, I mean, they can release it, and it can still suck. I mean, even if they release it, you still might be... Yeah. Okay. So it's a background to me. Or Jimmy, did you have something you wanted to add? Actually, Jimmy needs to sneeze. So, good luck with that, Jimmy. And while Jimmy travels down that journey alone, I predict the console war will remain a tie. Not like literally number for number, but close enough to still consider it an ongoing fight between Sony and Microsoft. It's been pretty much a dogfight this fall with no clear winner. And if you look at the games that are coming, Microsoft has got a new Halo and Titanfall, as well as Destiny as a cross-platform title, and Watch Dogs as a cross-platform title. Sony has Infamous Second Son and a new Uncharted game. So they both have a big title for the spring, and they both have a big title for the fall. And so I think it's going to remain a tie. I think I will end up with both of them by the end of the year, by the end of 2014, because I think Uncharted will finally pull me off the fence on Sony.
And I think there's a chance that I will too. So
because Titanfall will probably pull you off the fence on Microsoft. So I think it's just going to remain a complete tie. And that anyone serious about covering games is just going to need to have both systems. Because the cross-platform stuff is great, but there's just going to be a few key exclusives on both consoles that Sony has not had up until this point. And Microsoft hasn't really had either. Dead Rising and Forza are good games, but I'm not sure they're quite the system sellers that a Titanfall or an Uncharted 4 will be. So I think they're going to remain a tie. So Jimmy, next up.
I'm gonna go for a little more niche market, near and dear to Trey and my hearts. I think that Canon will release a new mirrorless system resembling a AE1.
So some sort of kind of to
With the
translate
retro-
that into English. This is a camera with the same image quality as like a DSLR, but without the big, kind of necessitating the big lenses because it's all integrated into one package.
Yeah, because there's a mirror in here. This has to be a very large body. I'm holding up a 30D. This has to be a very large body to accommodate that mirror, or the mirror. With the mirrorless, this body can be a lot thinner. The lenses can be a lot smaller because they're closer to the sensor.
Right.
And so as a result of that, you get a smaller package.
And then the AE1 is kind of a classic old school film design that Canon had for many, many years. And
Kind of like a la Nikon DF.
yeah, so Nikon and Fujitsu, and not Fujitsu, Fuji. Fuji.
Yeah, Fuji.
Fujitsu is a laptop company. Have done similar moves, and so I think, and Canon's always a little late to this. And Olympus has done this. And Canon's always a little late to this game. So I think that's a reasonable prediction. Sydney, what's up next for you?
My next one, I went back and forth on this one for a while, but I'm going to predict that Microsoft. Well, okay, so first of all, I found a website that predicted that Microsoft will be announcing a new CEO. I was like, really?
Really? No joke. They've
So
said
I'm
that.
going to say they will be announcing a new CEO and choosing someone who is from outside the company.
Okay. So
Kind of
you
went back and forth on the inside outside, but I'm going with outside.
okay? So we're pretty sure it's not going to be Alan Mulally, CEO of Ford. That rumor seems to be fading, but that doesn't
It's
mean
unfortunate.
I think you're smart in that I would like to see it come from outside. This is certainly one of those I would like to see that, because I wonder. Microsoft has never had a CEO who doesn't have a million years with the company. They've never had an outside voice. Jobs, Gates, and then Ballmer, are both lifetime Microsoft folks. They are from the beginning or almost from the beginning. I think Ballmer was like employee 40 or like pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, he was when they were still tiny.
Right. So I think it would be remarkable to see what it'd be like to someone who isn't ingrained in that kind of semi-toxic Microsoft culture. Now, my question is, does Stephen Elop, formerly of Nokia, count as outside? Because he used to be at Microsoft, and then he left, and now he's back.
Yes, because he was at Nokia.
So
I'll count him as outside.
you'll count him as outside, even though he started out at Microsoft?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. Does like
Most recently, he was with a previous company.
sure. Okay, I'll give you that.
That's the logic I'm using.
Okay. So my next prediction, this is kind of risky. Okay. My next two are a little more out there, and I don't know. My next prediction is that major gaming journalist operations will award their game of the year to a game that is not published by a major publisher. So basically, an indie game wins game of the year. By not necessarily just by us, but by somebody.
And are you putting as far as define that, Trey? Define that more clearly for. I mean, are you saying
I think-
across multiple outlets? What are we
I think
defining?
just
I
one.
think major reputable outlets like GameSpot or IGN or Game Informer or Giant Bomb. It can't be just us because that would be cheating. But kind of reputable outlets. Let me put it this way: outlets that factor into the Metacritic rating.
Okay.
Which is kind of the list of major reputable, some not so, but kind of major ones we follow. And what I mean by indie is not at all published by a major publisher. So not published by EA or Activision or Microsoft or Sony or Ubisoft or any of those guys. Because you can look at some games like Flower or last year major hit Journey, which are made by that game company, which are literally it's called that game company, which is an indie developer, but it was published by Sony as an exclusive. And so not even that. This is like just put on Steam or put on the PSN or Xbox Live.
Well, they've been kind of skirting around the edges for a while, so
Sure.
I don't know if next year is the year, but we're getting there where it could happen.
Well, I mean, I almost think looking at our list, it could go to Gone Home, which is totally indie.
Well, and it could go to Two Brothers,
It
depending on
could
how
go
that
to
is.
Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which is totally indie. So it's really close this year. I'm willing to, in what I've seen so far from other folks, the VGAs gave it to GTA. Giant Bomb, we don't know yet. Their game of the year hadn't been published. GameSpot gave it to Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. So the major indie titles from this year: Brothers, Gone Home. So I don't know. It's close this year, but I think it goes over the line next year. Sydney, I know you're about to have to leave us. Do you have one more prediction?
All right, so I've got my other ones are in the category of what Trey would call too vague. So as far as a trend for next year, biometrics definitely. I think as far as the security on devices, more fingerprint scanners, more
Retina scanner stuff like that. There's one like that for Samsung, sure.
those
Okay.
types of things. I'm gonna throw in with that. And then this
By companies other than Apple?
yes,
Okay.
yep.
'Cause obviously
my-
they're going to put Touch ID into everything.
Right, because they figured it out. But I feel like other people are going to be following suit. Because that was one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of gimmicky. That's whatever. And now that I have it, it's awesome. I love it. And there are times when I'll pick up Trey's phone to use it, and I just sit there for a minute with my finger on the button,
Yeah.
and nothing happens. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have to click and type in a code. That's
And
nice.
what's your last prediction?
This one is not entirely fully baked. But motion control for devices, I think I'm going to go with that. That's going to go down.
Fade from prominence?
Voice control.
Sure. Okay. I don't think that's too vague at all. I think that's perfectly reasonable. That we're seeing with Kinect, especially that what we use Kinect for is the voice and has nothing to do with the and who was actually waving their hand over their Samsung Galaxy 4
I have a Elite motion controller that I never use.
Right. I think you're absolutely right with that. So thanks for sticking with us, Sydney. Bye.
Adios.
Okay, this is gonna mess up some things for a second. Actually, not that bad. Okay. You still there, Jimmy?
I am.
Okay, let me. Okay. Magics of streaming software. So, I guess it's back around to me. My last.
No, I haven't done my.
Oh, you haven't
number
done your fourth one yet.
Yeah, no. Let's see. I had one, and which one am I going to do? I think that my fourth one will be that Call of Duty will not meet. I'm trying. I haven't fleshed this one out fully either, but basically, Call of Duty will fade from prominence. I think this year will be the first year where Call of Duty's release is not going to sell like 1 billion copies.
Okay.
They'll have a reduction. Do you want me to give it a percentage?
No.
Okay.
But that it's just not gonna have
A significant
It's not gonna be
like,
the mind
it's a
share
little-
leader where we wait on the countdown for the release trailer for the blah blah blah. Like it's just not gonna be this epic thing.
Exactly.
Do you want to wager what game is gonna replace it? Because you know what I'm gonna say.
Destiny or Titanfall.
Destiny or Titanfall, sure. Bungie or Respawn. The folks
that
what
was-
made
that was-
Call of Duty in the first place, or the folks what made Halo in the first place. Yeah,
I think that once those games have been out for 6 months, Call of Duty is just going to have so much difficulty justifying its existence.
right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. So my fifth prediction's a little crazy. And so this is definitely me sticking my neck out. I think Obama will pardon Edward Snowden.
Oh wow.
That's I've heard rumblings that people calling for a pardon of Snowden, and I almost think that's the only way to resolve the situation without bloodshed. Is not literal bloodshed, but you know what I mean. Is that Obama pardoned Snowden? And I don't know what else goes from there, but yeah, my prediction is in the next year Obama will pardon Snowden.
Whew.
Might as well go big, right? I lost last year. I can lose again.
It's okay. I'll go big on my last one. My last prediction is that Google will spin off a medical prosthetics division out of part of its robotic
Okay.
acquisitions
As this totally separate spin-off company?
as a totally separate. Well, maybe not as a separate company, but that they'll have a dedicated
Medical
within Google that's what
within
they want.
Google, they'll have something that makes Luke Skywalker's hand.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Actually, just put it in the page like that.
That will make Luke Skywalker's hand.
They'll make Luke Skywalker's hand. So we'll see. 2014, I think 2013. I guess this is This is our last show.
This is our last show, so Happy New Year.
Happy New Year for 2013. Looking back, we don't really do. I guess we'll do this with the end of the best of the year show.
We will do this with the best of the year show.
But this has been a heck of a year for tech. In that I don't think we've come very far in 12 months. I think
in some ways we may have actually gone backwards.
If you look at what's going to be nominated for our device of the year, I don't think we've come that far in 12 months. This has not been a radical year in technology. This has been a very incremental year in technology. And I think even our predictions for next year show that we are in a stage where no one has figured out what that next radical product is. We don't know what the next iPhone or iPad is. We thought it was connected televisions, and
it seems like it's going to be wearable tech.
It may be something in the wearable space.
I saw a Wired cover today at the airport about that.
So maybe it'll be the wearable thing, and maybe that's the big prediction. Is that and you look at our predictions, a lot of it is like wearable tech will be a success or it'll be a flop. I think 2014 may be the year that decides that. As 2013 was kind of the year that decided that no one cares about connected televisions. Guess what? No one cares about connected televisions. That's
right.
Part of
they
why
just want it to work.
They just want it to work, and none of them do. I'm waving my arms around for most of you on the audio version. No one cares. So on that note, Merry Christmas, which just happened, and Happy New Year. And our next episode will come to you January 2nd. It will be our best of the year show. And there will be a separate feed for that on the site of our deliberations. We're going to be fully open. You will hear our deliberations. There may or may not be...
will probably be profanity.
Yeah, I was about to say, there may be swearing on that version, so if you don't like your podcast with swearing, that one won't show up in your regular feed. You'll need to go to the site for that one. But both of those will be recorded on January 1st and rolling up on January 2nd. If you have any feedback, predictions of your own, stuff you'd like to see as topics you'd like to see us pick a best of, please email us, podcast@techlesscall.com, post it to Facebook, facebook.com/techlesscall, pinterest.com/techlesscall, or @techlesscall on the Twitters. However you find us, into 2014, we'll be seeing you on the interwebs.